And so I know that. I know that, oh, I don't know how to code this thing, not because I've reached my coding block, but because I just don't know enough. I just need to go look it up. I need to research and find that information. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so then once you start thinking in those terms, hopefully you start to understand how to get past it. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does it help?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and so see, the beautiful thing about ignorance is that there's a cure for it. It's knowledge. You know? So whenever I get stuck or whatever I may get blocked, according to like what you might think it is, I just go look it up. I just look some more things up. I just keep digging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, a good test to yourself is ask yourself, how much have you studied this beforehand, or how much have you thought about what you wanted to try to do? You know, like go watch a YouTube video of some TV show that you like and see if you can get inspired, right? Coming up with the cool ideas.
Okay. Because also I feel like sometimes it's very difficult for me to get inspired because like I put pressure on myself to get all the work done, to do it the best I can, and well, also other pressures around me for work and other things I need to do, and that's when I really get an art block that it doesn't even let me to think properly on what I want to do at that moment.
So you get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Okay. So then ask yourself why you're becoming overwhelmed. Like, why are you so overwhelmed?
Well, because I need, aside from drawing, I also have another job, and I need to finish that job. And at the same time, I need to do the classes and finish all my homework. And with these two things, it already takes me like the whole day. And if I have to do other things like I don't know, go to buy food or go and help my family or something, then it gets really hard to get the time to do all of it.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
I want to do too many things and I don't have enough time for all.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do?
Well, now I'm trying to distribute all the time. So make like a straight schedule for every day. So I get enough time for every day to do all I want to do.
There you go. You see, the issue that I usually have with the kind of stuff that you said, it's not that I don't believe that it's a challenge, right? What usually frustrates me is that, you know, people get overwhelmed, but I say to them, but what's your hurry? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, why do you have to, I mean, I get like you want to do everything that I have asked you to do, my homework, and then you have to work to do, but what's your hurry with every little thing, right? Like, if you just plan your day so that you can do at least 2 to 3 hours a day, you could do all the homework that I ask you to do. It might not be as good maybe if you spent 6 hours that day, right?
Yes.
But I don't give people so much work that would kill them. I usually give enough that is challenging, you know. And that's kind of the kind of the point I want to make here, right? Like, it's important to have quality time with yourself and with your work. And if you have a hard time managing that time, then start practicing managing it, because there's actually plenty of time to do a lot of the things that you want to do. There really is. And your family stuff is important, and there's time to do all that stuff as well. You just you
Yes.
just gotta be you just gotta be better with your time, and you just gotta practice that. And becoming overwhelmed to the point where you don't work anymore, or you don't feel like working. Well, what I have to say to that is that's that. Do you see the conundrum there? Is that if you don't do anything, then you're only going to feed into the part of you that hates that you're not doing anything. You see how that's like slippery slope?
Yes.
Because then when you don't do anything, what happens, right? Like then you get frustrated that you're not doing anything, which makes you do even more of nothing, right? And then it just like keeps feeding that beast. So just know that that's a problem, and don't ever feed into the slippery slope, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like just know that like it doesn't matter. Like I should do something, I have to do something, you know. And here's a really good way of thinking about all this too, just to help you out. People generally people generally won't do the things that they want to do, right? Like they'll say that they want to do something, and then they end up doing something else, or they end up wasting their time, whatever, right? Kind of like what you're suggesting is happening with you.
Yes.
And when I tell people this, I say, there's going to be someone else out there who has those same problems and has the same issues, but the difference is that they're not going to stop. They are going to do something. Okay? So your job is to be that person. You feel me?
Yes.
Like be the person that says, yes, I wasn't motivated today, but I still did something of value. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Because eventually it's going to add up, right? And you're going to see the power of it, and you're going to become a lot better. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, but for right now, you're still working on it. You're still very challenging. I get that, you know. But if you just stay still, which is the worst thing you can do, if you stay still, then you're not going to progress as much as you were hoping to progress. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And I always tell you guys, don't focus on how to be inspired or motivated, because those things are fickle. You want to spend your time on just being persistent. Like the better question to ask yourself is, how do you stay persistent?
Yes.
Not how do you stay motivated, because motivation implies that you are enjoying it, right? Like you're excited to do it, right? Like you're happy, you're like, I'm motivated, like let's do it. Persistence doesn't imply that. Persistence says, even if I'm not excited about it, I still fucking do it. You understand? Do you see the difference there?
Yes.
Because there's going to be days where you're not excited, okay? Or you're not enjoying it. And what I've discovered, and this like is really true, what I've discovered, for instance, like with coding, I'm like, oh man, I got to do some coding, right? And I'm just like, because it's starting to get hard. It's very challenging. But I know I have to do it. And what I discovered is as soon as I get into it, then I can't stop. Right? Like if you just say, no matter what, I want to spend like half an hour painting, what ends up happening almost all the time, that half an hour might turn into 1 hour. You see? It's just the act of getting started that's really challenging. And if you just tell yourself, I just got to get started, even though right now I feel like crap, I don't have any ideas, you'll figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
It's like what your brain does when it's under pressure, right? Your brain's really good at saying, okay, Like let's figure this out together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Okay.
like you're into it, you're engaged. Yeah, does that help give you some more insight?
Yes. Yes, it was very helpful.
Yeah, man. Like you got it. You're doing great. Just stay motivated. I'm sorry, stay persistent and stay patient.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the most important things.
Okay.
Yeah, motivation isn't bad. It's just not reliable. That's all I was trying to get at. Cool. Good question.
Okay. Thank you. Very helpful.
Mm. Yeah. Any other questions?
I had one. How many brushes would you suggest keeping at a time? Because like right now I have like this huge list.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like it doesn't really make sense to have all of them. Like I probably have like 200 brushes or something here, but I don't imagine I'm ever going to use more than, I don't know, 10 of them.
It seems like you already have the answer, don't you?
That's fair.
Yeah, you don't ask me, man. Ask yourself. Like you just answered your own question within that question, right? You're
Yeah.
like, how many brushes should I use? I mean, like I have 200 of them, but I only really use 10. So then my answer would be 10.
All right.
Yeah, that's how I feel. You know, I had like all these tool presets, and then I just like I don't need all of these. You just saw me. I just deleted them. I was like,
Yeah. Do you
a,
have
a good
sorry.
system. There's a system you should think. You shouldn't think about like a number. You should think of it as a system. You should say to yourself, like, how often did I use these? Okay, I made these brushes, or I got these new brushes, but like, really, how often do I use them? You know, and it's
Yeah.
like the same way that I approach like cleaning out my garage. You know, I go to my garage and I'll see like a nice little lamp thing that's been in there for like a year and a half, and at that moment I'm like, oh, cool, like a little lamp thingy, you know, and there's that part of me that wants to still keep it, but then I ask myself that next question, but this thing has been in here for about a year and a half. Let's just throw it away. It's like
Yeah.
literally clutter. And I'm about to keep it again because it's like cool to think about keeping, right?
Yeah.
It's like, really, I don't need this. And if I really do, then I'll go and buy a new one. It won't be a problem, you know?
Yeah.
But that never, like, that rarely happens when I throw something away that I have to go buy it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I treat my brushes the same way, you know? Like, oh man, look at all these cool brushes from artist X, right? Wait, what the? Who's talking? Is that what? No, they muted themselves. All right. But does that make sense? Like, I'm just like, yeah, why keep all these brushes from artist X if I don't ever really use them?
Yeah.
You know? And so, like right now, wait, I'll have this tabs. Like right now, I got what is that? 5, 10, about like 14, maybe 15 tool presets, and I actually will use all these. Pretty confident that I will. Right, but maybe eventually I'll start cutting those out to like a few of them. I generally use only like 2 to 3 brushes consistently, you know, but there are times where I do want like an extra flavor, you
Yeah.
know. And so what I've done actually to kind of distinguish, like, I actually will keep my brush presets pretty crazy. Okay, and the only reason why I do that is because I do want like a crazy library of brushes. Right now I don't have it. I haven't updated this. But the whole idea would be that occasionally there is a chance I would want something so crazy just to get my painting started. My brush presets are good for that. But my tool presets are like my main brushes. You know what I mean?
Your go-tos.
Yeah. And those are the most important. And that is where I don't want to be cluttered, right? I don't mind being cluttered when I just want to have clutter as my tool of choice, you know, but I don't want to have clutter when I'm just trying to paint, trying to work.
Yeah.
Make sense? And the way that I approach that is just really just like I said, it's like a system. It's the same way I feel about tabs on my browser, right? I don't like having hundreds of different tabs open. I see people all the time with like millions of tabs open, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't like it is because like a lot of those tabs are meaningless. It's like my free flowing mind sometimes, and it gets out of control. You know, and I don't want my free flowing mind to kind of like distract me because it could become a distraction.
Yeah.
So usually when I see I have like quite a few, like a few dozen tabs open, I usually will close my tab, like just my whole browser altogether, and just start anew. So then that way it will remind me of what were the main things that I did want to have open. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's all about mitigating distraction. And so like having lots of brushes might be distracting because then you feel like you have endless opportunities to do some paintings, right? Where you probably should just keep it limited. You know?
Yeah. And you have your do you have these brushes up there or on because I
I
remember
just
I
made
have
them.
an old oh yeah. I guess then you wouldn't.
Yeah, I just made them. Yeah, my old ones are still old. I will put these up eventually.
Okay.
I feel confident that I've made like a new array of brushes that are pretty good. I'm planning on doing more tutorials starting next week. And so what I'll do is also accompany that with my new brushes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Good questions, y'all. Yeah, this brush is dope. Like it's really good.
Yeah, like
Just,
that's kind of what spawned it. I was like, man, that's a pretty neat brush.
yeah, it blends really well and it has texture
Yeah.
and it feels great for chisel work. I'm still trying to figure out the power of it. Anyway, any other questions?
Yellen has a question.
Who?
Yellen.
Oh, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
자라요와. I forgot all
What?
about this song. Forgot all about that song. The song that I was in the pop band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot I played for Jaywalk. Jaywalk is a lot more popular than Genie was. I remember.
Is that I didn't I have heard about Genius song, but J-Works is pretty new to me.
Yeah, Jaywalk is a little bit more popular. I didn't say they were as popular, but they were a little bit more well known. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot all about them. But I played only one song with those guys. That's probably why. I was like, who else? Like, who did I play with? Because I remember I played with this boy band or this boy group, but they were a duo. So I put like popular Korean duos in 2002, and that's when I saw Jaywalk, and I was like, I think it's Jaywalk. That sounds real familiar. And I looked, and I found me little 18-year-old AJ.
So my question is, do you have any go-to artist when you were on very early stage?
Yep, I had a lot, but to name a few would be Charlie Wan, Ryan Meinerding,
Yeah.
Sargent, some classic
Certain.
one, J.C. Leindecker, Norman Rockwell. You know, just the classics.
Have you met Ryan Mandarin?
I haven't met him in person, but we've talked a few times on Facebook. But you know, it's funny. I worked with his wife, and I had no idea that was his wife. It was funny because I was working on the X-Men project, and I was working on the movie, and it was in Burbank, so I had to get picked up from the train station to go work there. And so one of the producers would come pick me up. Her name was Sarah, and she had like an English accent and stuff like that. She was really nice. And you know, she'll pick me up, we'll go, and I'll do my work, and then she'll drop me off at the train station. This is before like Uber and stuff, so definitely needed a ride. And then, you know, that was like it. And I did that for like a good, let me sit down. I did that for like a good month, right? And at the end of the work, I was working with some guy named Philip, and me and him got along really well, and we would, like, you know, hang out and talk a lot. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this Christmas party coming up, man. You should see if you can go." And um, I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I don't know though, because like Christmas is something, I forget why, but there's something going on, so I didn't think I was going to be able to. But he was like, "Yeah, you should go, you know, because you know Charlie is going to be there, and then Ryan's going to be there, you know."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh man, you know," I was like, "Yeah, I would love to go, man." He's like, "Yeah, just ask Sarah. You know, I'm sure Sarah and Ryan will be okay with that." And I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, it's Sarah's Christmas party." And yeah, and Sarah and Ryan. I was like, "Yeah, but what like how do Ryan and Charlie know Sarah?" And he was like, "Oh, Sarah is Ryan's wife." And I was like, "What?" Like this girl that's been just driving me back and forth this whole time, the producer has been helping me out like this whole time. And he's like, "Yeah, dude." Close the door, Delilah. And I was like, "Wow."
Wow.
And it was so funny because then like when she came in, I was like, "Wait, so you're telling me you're Sarah Meyernding?" And she was like, "Uh-oh." Like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dude, like your husband is like one of the greatest inspirations in my whole career." And she was just like laughing about it. She's like, "Yeah, I know. He's all right." And I was like, "What? No, he's like legendary." And we were just laughing about it. And then like she invited me and all this stuff, but I was like, I can't. Like I wanted to, but I forgot why. It was something more important. It was like my own family thing, right? And so I was like, oh, damn it. But it's really nice. But then like, yeah, I reached out to him after that and I was like, "Dude, I worked with your wife, man. She's super nice." And he's like, "Oh, dude, thanks." And I'm like, I'm in. Now I just got to keep in touch, which I didn't do. But I'm sure if I reached out to him and like wanted to hang out with him, he would do that. Because I've gotten to the point of status, you know, like I'm pretty well known, and so it's easier for me now to do something like that. Back in the day, like it would have been much harder, right? But I can reach out to mega star artists way easier now than I could have in the past. But I leave him alone. Like I think he's doing fine. He's really badass, so I don't really mind just admiring him from afar. There was Wang Wei too, was one of those people, and I worked with Wang Wei at Blizzard. I was like right behind him, and I never talked to him. Yeah, he's like epic Blizzard artist. Yeah, look him up. Um, like he did like all those amazing orc designs, and so I worked with him, and it was cool because I get to see all of his artwork like before anyone else could ever see it, like behind closed doors. So I was always like stealing it. And then I was just like, I literally had like a drive where I just have all of his work just chilling. And um, huge influence. I never talked to him. And then like my last day there, I was like, "Bro, you're like a huge influence." And I was just not. I was a little kind of shell shocked by your amazingness. And he's like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your work." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, that's and I told him, I was like, "If you like my work, it's just like saying you like your work because my work is heavily inspired by your work. So you're kind of conceited." And then he laughed, and then we laughed, and that was the only moment. And then I was like, "Oh well, it was nice meeting you, man. Talk to you later." Never talked to him ever again. I only talked to him on Facebook. I talk to most of these people just via Facebook because it's the best way to do it. Yeah. Some people that were really I was big fans of, and I was even jealous of their skills. Was like people like Dan, the VC. And then I remember one time I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey man, like huge fan, dude. Like would love to go out and get some lunch." And he's like, "Okay, let's do it." I was like, "What?" and then we went to get lunch, and then we became best friends after that. Like we got along so well,
Mm.
and he was like the kind of people that I admired. But then we became really good friends.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's a lot of artists though. There's tons and tons and tons of artists. I was asked once in an interview if I could ever meet an artist,
Mm.
dead or alive, who would I want to meet and talk to, and it would have been J.C. Leyendecker. And not because he is such a badass artist. I would be really curious to his struggles, because he was gay,
Mhm.
and he was gay in a time where being gay is not so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it still kind of is in a lot of places in the world. Like I just
Mm.
found out Australia is like having a dispute whether they should have people be married if they're gay. Um, and I'm just like, what the, like, the world needs to get past this already. And anyway, um, and so I would like to talk to him because that's just really interesting. I'm fascinated by that. Because people don't know him as much, like other artists do, but like the rest of the world doesn't know. And every time you think of something like Leyendecker, it's actually like Rockwell. When people think Leyendecker, like old like poster art, excuse me, for like these old publications, um, people will look at Leyendecker painting, but they'll think that it's Rockwell. And that's because Rockwell was more outspoken, you understand, and he was more of a student of Leyendecker,
Yeah.
and he was like more realistic too. His work was much more realistic. So the combination of his paintings being better on the surface, and then and I say the surface because they were just way better paintings. They just were, in terms of like quality, but they weren't necessarily better illustrations or better aesthetically. Like there's some design choices that are just so much better found in Leindecker's paintings. Anyway, getting off topic. The point I'm saying is like I would like to hear his thoughts on that, and if he could have done it differently, what could he have done differently? And then just like hold his hand for a second, look at him in the eyes, and say, "It's all good, dude. The world gets better, man." And then just go back in time, go back to the future. Because I love Leyendecker a lot, and I'm kind of sad about hearing his story. So that kind of sucks. It's like Van Gogh's like another one. It's like, bro, you should just hung in there just a little bit longer, man. Just hang in there just a little longer, dude. Like, and just do a little bit more paintings. But his life was bad, dude. It was like real bad. So I don't know. Another person I would like to talk to probably would be Jackson Pollock, because he was like one of those modern artists who were like, fuck modern artists. And so I would like to talk to that guy for just a minute. Be like, I think he gets it. There's a great story where he did, he did those ink blotches that people love, what he's known for. And, someone asked him, or so one day he did like these other paintings. Or no, he walked up to somebody, because before the ink blotches, he did all these other paintings that nobody cared about, but he thought they were amazing. Like he put his heart and soul into them, right? And then one day he reaches out to somebody that was like looking at one of his paintings, and he asked him, straight up, he's like, why do you like my ink blotch paintings? Right? He was just asking this person, and this person was going on and on about like all the stuff that he liked about the painting and what he saw in it. And then like Jackson Pollock was just like I wasn't thinking any of that. Like you're full of shit. Like I just threw a bunch of fucking paint on the wall, Um, and they're just like, what? And he's like, yeah, this is bullshit. All this is bullshit. And he was a drunk because he just couldn't figure it out. And that's just because mostly modern art is like, it's not reliable. It's not like it's too subjective, you know?
Yeah.
And so like that's the beauty of like concept art. It's not so subjective. If someone was like, if this is a concept I was supposed to do for somebody, the one you're looking at right now, and the task of the assignment was to draw a robot Viking, I failed. like objectively we can agree that this is like maybe a cool painting, but I didn't do the task, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of concept art. People might think of it as like art, but like no, like production art and artwork for films and games and for products, it's pretty objective. And that's what I like. I like it because there's like a standard. And so, but like modern art, like taking a dump in a bag, like taking a poop and putting it in a bag and putting it in the middle of like Times Square and call it and then naming the that art, calling it the government or something weird. And
Yeah.
so like have some sort of social commentary on that. Yeah, I don't think people will care. There was like this one there was this one exhibit that I heard where they had a painting that was pretty much just like a ping pong table. Like it was just like a blue painting with a white line in the middle. Sold for like $4 million or something crazy. Yeah, I'm just like, what the? Yeah, that line of work is just not sustainable. Only a few people are going to make that kind of money, and the ones that do don't know why. They might tell you they know why, but they don't know. And so I get like why people kind of make fun of us at first when we tell them that we are artists. They're, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So do you do like graphic design or something? And they're like, no, man. Draw robots and monsters, dude. I don't get mad at people though. I get it. I used to think that way too. But then I got wise. So anyway, those were the artists that influenced me though, to answer your question again. But there's so many, man. Like I have hundreds, if not thousands, of artists that are super inspiring to me to this day. But those were definitely the ones that I kind of started with. Yeah. All right. Annyeonghaseyo. All right. Who's next? Anyone else have any other questions? Maybe.
It seems nobody has question.
Wait, hold on just a second. My wife's just asking me something. What?
When the nanny gets here, I'm going to CrossFit. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one.
Go for it.
And I was wondering because my work starts pretty late and I have time before and I wake up pretty early, but it's not like I'm fully awake. And I tried this morning to do the assignment, but it didn't really end well because I was not focused. And so I wanted to ask what maybe some exercises I could do that require less brain power.
Yeah, I got it. So that's the problem. All right, let's talk about this for a second. Like that's the problem. Is that it's hard for you to wake up, right, and work before, and it's going to always be that way unless you do something about it, right? So the answer isn't an easy one. That's kind of the next point I'm going to make. Okay, this idea, I think I want you guys all to understand really, really well. Okay, which is that there is a small percentage of people on this planet who are going to succeed at the things that they want to do. Okay, I think all of you guys are amongst those people. Okay, a lot of things lined up. For instance, you guys can afford the class, right? That's a large leap in investment. Okay, so the fact that you have access to this money means that you can have access to other goods in the future, right? But also you have time, like, because you guys are taking the class and you're doing the homework, right? And with those two variables, meaning that I know that you have certain privileges, you know, you might not, your privileges might not be aligned with mine. I live in California. I'm like a hop, skip, jump away from blizzard, right? And I know many of those people, and my privileges are much, much higher, you know? But I'm trying to say that you guys have enough, you know? The bare minimum, in my opinion, is that you don't even need money. You just need the internet. You know, if you have access to internet, you don't even have to have a toilet. If you have access to internet, right, you can become a badass artist because you can still get access to paper and pencil. You don't even need a Wacom tablet, you know, and Photoshop. You don't need any of that. You can become a great artist with just pen and paper. You really can. You can make a name for yourself by being that type of artist. Like look at Kim Jong-ji, right? So that's not the concern, right? I have my concern is more about the psychology. Okay, so I think with all those hurdles aside, I think we can all agree that we're all a little more privileged than most of the world. It's just a fact. Okay, and so with those privileges and those advantages, you should take advantage of them. Okay, and what you need to understand then, what separates you from all the people who are just have these opportunities and privileges is that you take advantage of them. Okay, but just because you take advantage of them doesn't make it any easier. Does that make sense? And so a really good way of thinking about all of this is like what I said earlier. There's I think I was talking to Aisha about this, but the point of like where there would be one other artist who have all the same problems as you do. Like they have a hard time waking up, they have a job, they have everything that you just said. Yeah? But they found a way to figure it out. Does it make sense? And what I try to say to people is you be that person. You know, you be the person that 5 years from now you do a workshop and then people ask you, hey, how did you do that full-time job and wake up in the morning thing? You know? And you'll have a really good answer for them. Does it make sense? And so my strategy for you, my advice to you is that you have to accept that it's going to be challenging and that it's because it's not easy is why you should do it more. You understand? The reason why it's such a challenge is because it is hard. When people say it takes a lot of hard work, this is what they mean. You know? Like when I say you have to put a good amount of effort, this is what I mean. Right? Because I can tell you all you need to do is just keep waking up early. Right? Maybe start eating right. Maybe do some exercises. Maybe go to bed earlier. Get off your phone or your computer at least an hour before you go to bed so you can actually sleep. You know? There's a lot of different things. But even if I tell you all that, it doesn't make it any easier, does it? Like you still have to eat right, you still have to exercise. That sounds actually like more work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's actually what you'll have to do, and you can earn your way to it. So my advice to you is try to wake up half an hour, maybe an hour earlier every day. So that way it starts becoming less and less effort, or it becomes more and more effortless. Yeah? Because right now it is challenging, dude, and it's gonna stay that way unless you keep at it. Yeah. And then when you don't want to wake up and you're sitting there, my gosh, right? Remind yourself that the difference between you and the next person is that you decided to wake up. It's something as simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah. People like, for instance, like this whole coding stuff. Like people are like, "How did you learn all this coding?" They make it seem like I have some sort of magic, like magic, like wizard that I talk to, and like I sacrifice my firstborn, you know, and now I have all these powers and access to all these amazing things. Like, no, man, I just code every day. I literally bought in the last 2 to 3 months. I have 5 coding books. and I've been reading through them. And I'll go back to you and say, have you done that? And they say, no. And then I say, well, that's why I'm better at coding than you are. You know? I'm seeing all my friends like getting into the VR stuff. I think VR has finally made the tool. I think Gravity Sketch, right? Gravity Sketch, the tool I was waiting for. And it exists now. And I saw my friend Jama do it, and saw my friend Wojciech do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time. It's time to reinvest in VR. Because I tell people, like when people are asking, like, is VR anything? And I said, application-wise, I think give it another 5 years, because it still needs to be accessible. It's not accessible. But is VR going anywhere? Like, is VR dead? You know? No, not at all. It works. That's all. Like before, why it died in the past is because it didn't work. It was still bad, you know. But no, it works. It just requires a powerful machine and really expensive equipment, you know. But if that's the only cost of entry, then it only will take time for it to be mainstream, you know. A good example of this is smartphones, right? Like cell phones have been around for several decades, and then some of the most popular ones were around for like the last 20 or 30 decades, or 20 or 30 years. I mean, right? And with time, the cell phones now in our pockets, right? We have supercomputers pretty much. So anyway, you know, and I'm gonna probably get good at VR once I have it. I'm gonna invest in it at the end of the month, right? When I've taken care of all my other responsibilities, and I feel like I have enough money to spend on it. And then I'm gonna buy one, and then I'm gonna play with it and start making stuff in VR and be part of the club. And then people are going to ask, like, is it easy? And I'm gonna say no. You know, it happens every time. Watch, pay attention to it. Okay, I'm gonna be posting something new with my game stuff, and if you just read the comments, you'll see people will be asking that specific question, like, what tool are you using? Was it easy to learn? Every time, every single time, no matter what it is that I'm doing. And I always say it's not. You just got to keep with it. If you mean easy, as in if you do something a lot, you'll get better at it easy, then yes, it's actually quite easy. There's this really funny scene in the movie or a TV show that I liked a lot. It's called Master of None. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it's done by Aziz Ansari's, and he's like the Middle Eastern comedian. He's really funny. Well, he's American, but his heritage is in the Middle East. Anyway, he was it was really funny because he was talking to his best friend in the show, and they were talking about going bowling and stuff, right? And Aziz was like, you know, man, bowling's easy, dude. Like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, yeah, it's really easy. I mean, like, I'm not good at it now, but I can get really good at it easily. And his friend's like, yeah, dude, totally. Like, what? Like, what we got to do? Like, just go bowl every day, like for a few hours a day? Yeah, that's super easy. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, actually, I don't want to do that though. It's like, yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. Yeah, I think what we're trying to say is to get good at anything, it just takes a lot of time and effort, and we just don't want to do that. Yeah, I think you're right. Let's not go bowling. so they started off by saying like how easy it was, and then as they were describing what they had to do, they realized it was a lot of work. and then they kind of like made a joke about it, right? And I was laughing because I think a lot of people think that way, right? Like, oh, dude, I could totally do it. And then when it comes down to actually doing it, they don't do it, you know. And I like to use video games as a great example of showing people how they can work really hard and what it looks like. Like, do you play video games, or do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, what video game have you played? What video games have you played?
The last I played was Nier.
With what?
Nier Automata.
I have no idea what game that is. What other games have you played?
StarCraft.
Okay, StarCraft. What league were you in StarCraft? If you played professionally,
I was Platinum League.
Platinum.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. I was too, barely platinum, so you're probably better than me. But what did you do to get to platinum? How did you get there?
I played and watched streams and learned build orders.
Yeah. Interesting how that works, right? You watched a lot of streams, you read different strategies, and you played a lot of games, didn't you? And you got to platinum. Huh. Funny how that works. Right? And if you just apply that same logic to anything else, it will work the same way. You'll become a platinum artist. Got it? There's this really famous, I forget his name actually, but there was this really famous pro Korean StarCraft player, and he was asked what he was going to do after StarCraft, and if he was worried, because he was getting old. He was about to retire at the old age of 26, and he was just like people were like curious of what he was going to do next, and he said he wasn't really worried about it, and they asked him why, and he said, well, yeah, I'm not worried about it because becoming as good as StarCraft as I became took a lot of effort, took a lot of energy, took a lot of practice and discipline, and it really was a challenge, and I recognize that challenge. And I realized that all I need to do moving forward after StarCraft is apply the same knowledge and same strategy and same, you know what I mean? Like the same work ethic that I put into this game, into anything else, and I can accomplish anything. Right? And I agree with him. It's a lot of work to be a professional StarCraft player.
Oh yeah, it is.
Right? So to treat it like it's like, oh, it's just a video game now, like it's really, really impressive. It's one of the most challenging video games to be amazing at, right? Let alone being the best. And so that's my advice. So you're running into like, how do I wake up a little earlier? You're just gonna have to do it. Okay? It's gonna be hard. But I would say do it in microbites, like wake up a half an hour to an hour earlier every day and just try to stay consistent. And even if you don't work during that time, right? You're just trying to wake up. That's all you're really practicing at that time, You're not trying to necessarily be productive yet. You're just trying to can you even just wake up and be awake and alert to even practice, And if you feel awake enough to do something, then do something, right? But one thing at a time is usually my advice, right? Because it is challenging. All this stuff is challenging, and you want to build a sustainable method, a method that you can repeat over and over without too much effort. Yeah. And
Okay.
the way to do that is just to do it one step at a time. Okay. Hopefully that insight helps you out.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
All right. Great.
Can I say something? Yeah.
Nope.
I had the same problem with motivation and just making myself start drawing. And after you gave me this is more like a tip for classmates. And after you told me to set up a timer before I start drawing, I was like, okay, I went to Pinterest and I randomly, or something maybe caught my eye, I took random 4 photos and I set the timer and I just started drawing and using those 4 photos, for example. Not more than that. And I just used those and I was like, maybe it'll look like shit. Never mind, I'll just finish it. And after like 3 or 4 times of doing that, it was like getting really easy. I was getting faster. My visual library was, filling up a bit. Mm-hmm. I was reusing some stuff that I did in the first sketch and then combining the first and the second, and that helped me out a lot. I did not have that pressure like this has to look awesome and this has to look exactly how I imagined it. And after that, it was really liberating,
Yeah, the goal of just getting started is to get you in the habit of doing something that you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Right? So that's great advice. Like that's what I try to encourage, and I'm glad you shared that.
And also I found some like random character generators on the internet, and I just found one that I liked, and I was like, well, maybe it's a shitty, example, but I'll try to make it epic, and
Yeah.
I just made myself do it. So
yeah, like I said earlier, right? Just starting is like the hardest. It's not actually doing it. Doing it is definitely hard, but it's just like the starting, right? Is like one of the hardest things to do. And once you get started, it will show its own problems and its own stresses, but at least you're moving forward.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not any easy. It's not like super easy once you're in it, but it's definitely not like I forget what the phrase is, right? It's something along the lines of, yeah, you'll have like I'm paraphrasing this, like, yeah, you'll have an opportunity to fail if you try something, right? Like there's
Yeah.
chances of failing are definitely going to happen, but you fail 100% of the time if you don't try at all, right?
Yeah, I agree completely.
Well, it's not about you agreeing even. It's the fact.
Yeah.
Like if you do something, you may fail or not fail. That's a possibility. But if you don't do anything at all, you've failed completely. Right? Like if your goal was to be a concept artist and you don't do any concept art, then you won't be a concept artist. It's not how, like, someone's not going to be like, hey, I know in your heart, I can see in your heart that you want to be a concept artist. So just let's give you that job. Yeah, let's give you that job. Let's pay you today. And then once you start getting good, this will all be a good investment. Like, that's not how it works. Like, but if you apply for that job and they say, we don't want to hire you, your chances are better than the other person, because at least you have more information. You've tried the application, you got rejected, you saw a rejection letter, you know that they've looked at it, and then maybe you can open up a dialogue and see what you could have done better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna fix this space. So hopefully that helps out. All right, I'm gonna take on one more question. Make it count. Better be the best question I've heard all year. No pressure though. No pressure. So whenever I paint faces, I generally don't care if they're good or bad. I try to make them have some sort of personality or some sort of characteristics that make them look like a person. But aside from that, I don't worry about proportions and anatomy too much. I like to place things relatively somewhere close to where they should be. But once I get them in there, I can correct it later using like Liquify and yeah, using Liquify and other Photoshop tricks. This guy feels more Native American. It's good. I might give him some eyeliner to make his eye pop out a little bit more. Any other questions? Question to rule them all? No? All right. I'm gonna call it a day. Send you guys out into the weekend. There's kind of a weird tangency going on with the other arm. but it's all right. I'm done with this painting. Just testing that brush some more. That was the objective. Objective complete. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks again for all the great submissions. Keep up the good work. Keep practicing. Keep painting. Stay in touch with one another. Help each other. And with that, y'all, laters. Have a great day. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.